Not very much, really. Petty crimes, stealing loaves of bread, stealing a feather pillow, stealing a silk handkerchief, and they were put in on the ships, the rotting ships on the River Thames. And then someone, the Home Secretary, Lord Sydney, said, "You know what? I think we'll start a new colony." And they're always looking for new colonies because they hated another country. We probably still do. And with that country it's France. They were always competing with France. And yeah, they decided to assemble 11 ships and send them to Australia and settle in this little bay here. This is 18 years after James Cook. And the first governor was a guy called Arthur Phillip, who was a fantastic bloke, and very determined that this settlement was actually survive. It was very touch and go that it did, because strange country. If you needed help or more stores, you're like 21,000 k's from back in England. But anyway, they sent enough stores, or so they thought. About 750 convicts and about 700 troops, and they made amazing time. They went down below the other way. They didn't go this way. They went down below South Africa, underneath Perth, underneath Tasmania, and up to Sydney. Well, what called Sydney then. He named it Sydney after Lord Sydney. But when they got here, they were very stressed because they couldn't find what they needed most in this little bay, or when they got on the land. And that essential was, of course, water. Yeah.
Water, right.
And plenty of water, but it's all salty. So they couldn't find a stream. So Phillip got a rowboat and headed north, came into the next inlet. Well, Cook didn't come into this inlet. Was it a big mistake? Look, it probably was. He was so held up in Botany Bay that by the time he got going, I've got all this cartography to do, and when you look in from out to sea, you see North Head, South Head, Middle Head, and that's what you think it is.
Right.
If you don't come in, you don't realise how amazing this harbour actually is. So when Phillip came up in a rowboat, came further and further in, it just opened up, and he couldn't believe it. And he said, "This is the most amazing harbour." That's a beautiful painting of it back in by Von Gerard, a famous painter here in the early 18th century. 19th century. Got that wrong. But this is where Phillip came in and found a watercourse, and he called it the Tank Stream, and that convinced him to move the whole settlement against the Admiralty's directions. And so he brought all the 11 ships up here and settled right here, which is just over here, and today it's Circular Quay. And yeah, that's the first government house. There was no infrastructure. Phillip kept haranguing the government to have an advance party to come here, to have a look around, to do some reconnaissance, to find the best place to set up, but they didn't allow that, which made it very stressful for Phillip. And yeah, so the first 20 years were pretty hard. The second fleet arrived with no more food. Their food ship had hit an iceberg, and there's lots of stories there's lots of documentation about all this. There's Fatal Shore by Philip Hughes. Philip Hughes, no, he's a cricketer. By Hughes, what's his first name? Anyway, so yeah, there's lots of interesting movies and documents about it as well. So this is the building of the bridge when we're going over. It was finished in 1932. As I said, it's still all original. It was an English design. It was tendered out and it was won by a firm called Dorman Long. This is the guy getting the rivets white hot. There's 6 million holding it all together. It took 7.5 years. 1,500 men worked on it for all that time. And that's the triumphant moment where they're actually joining it in the middle. When it got to this stage, a lot of Sydney-siders were very sceptical that it would be strong enough. In actual fact, the arch span principle in bridge building is apparently incredible. This can carry 2.5 times the amount of weight that it actually does. And there's a picture of the, where are the sheds? Oh yeah, all these sheds now demolished. When they demolished these sheds, they built an amusement park for the children and the adults, and a beautiful swimming pool which we'll pass later. So they thought they'd better compensate the residents of the North Shore for all the noise and stuff that went on there. So our local engineer added these columns, which satisfied the locals that the bridge now looked a lot stronger, but they don't do anything, they just look cool.
Right.
Yeah. And these are some of the young men that worked on the bridge. Unfortunately, 16 lost their lives in the construction of it. And they're the only cars on the opening day that we could find to go over it. So yeah, it was amazing foresight to build something this size.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant. We'll go over that bridge later to get us down to see the replica of James Cook's ship. And that's my granddad. He was the first cyclist over the bridge in 1920.
Really?
You don't believe that?
No.
Don't you? Oh my God, you're getting another lollipop. He believes it.
He's gullible.
He's so gullible.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll head off. We'll head off over the bridge now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And, oh no, I'll get a picture first.